With the Pioneer RCQ season about to get underway, Magic's newest set, Outlaws of Thunder Junction, is looking to make a name for itself, and let me tell you, Wizards made out with quite a haul this time as the top 10 barely scratched the surface of all the playables. So saddle up, let's hit the trail, but before we get started, let me remind you that if you're looking to pick up any cards we discussed up today, you can head on over to crew3mtg.com to redirect you to our friends at TCG Player, while also letting them know we sent you and giving us a small percentage of your order total at no additional cost to yourself. So you get new cards and help us continue making the content you enjoy. Without further ado, let's get started. Number 10, Scorching Shot. While our number 10 slot is a little more exciting for standard mono red players looking for a way to cleanly answer Shieldred, for Pioneer, it'll serve a nice way to answer Shieldred and Vein Ripper with a single card. Expect to see this in sideboards for quite some time. Number 9, 3 Steps Ahead. The first free card on our list shows just how strong this flexible new mechanic can be. Starting off as our standard 3-mana cancel variant in the early game, it then either gains utility by adding on the copy or draw effects for an increased cost. Or better yet, we can just spend less mana and forego the counterspell ability and rely on the other cards to answer our opponents while just digging further into our libraries or copying an impactful creature like Torrential Gearhulk. I imagine this card will see a fair amount of play in Dimir control decks by replacing Sinister Sabotage and helping solidify their smattering of additional counterspells into one singular package. Number 8, Demonic Ruckus. Demonic Ruckus is here to bring the noise and give aggressive decks like Boros Heroic a way to progress their board on turn 1 without overcommitting an unprotected creature. Or, like we discussed in the podcast, allowing for a turn 2 light pause to immediately tutor up something like Kaya's Ghost Form. I think it's safe to say a lot of games this season will start with turn 1 Ruckus, turn 2 play a 1-drop into free casting Ruckus, all while holding up Lauren's Escape. Even when not allowing aggro decks to nicely curve out, just allowing them the opportunity to set up and spend mana on otherwise do-nothing turns is a great boon for these decks overall. Number 7, Phantom Interference. Who would want a Quench clone that also makes a token? Creativity, that's who! Creativity decks have already found success playing cards like Make Disappear, so why not replace their go-to counterspell with one that also can help progress their gameplay in a pinch? It slices, it dices, it turns into an Atraxa. What more could you want? Number 6 is Final Showdown. Wow, talk about spree giving flexibility. An instant speed 6-mana Wrath is near playable enough, but now, for an additional mana, we can either ensure our big threat survives, or we don't eat a myriad of Vein Ripper triggers after blowing up the board. Not only that, in a pinch, for only 2 mana, we can buy a turn against Amalia decks to keep them from gaining what feels like an insurmountable amount of life points. We just may need to rename this card because I expect to see more than one Final Showdown during this RCQ season. Number 5, Insatiable Avarice. Right now, Mono Black discard is hovering just outside of Pioneer's top decks thanks to strong matchups against both Phoenix and Vampires. However, it can sometimes struggle to put a game away or be waiting for the right cards, which is where Insatiable Avarice comes in. Don't be fooled, as this souped-up Sign in Blood is nothing to scoff at. With the Shieldred in play, this deck is downright lethal, sending a quick 9 to our opponent's dome, or it can quickly fill our hands back up if the tank is running on empty. And if we have the extra mana lying around, one of those cards would be just the card we need for any given situation, thanks to the optional built-in Vampiric Tutor. Number 4, Avid Interruptor. I hope some of our viewers out there love Spell Queller just as much as I do, because if not, I've got some bad news for you. In exchange for a fan-favorite creature type, Avid Interruptor cleanly exiles any spell from the stack, and while your opponent does have the chance to play it again next turn, it'll still come at a cost. And most importantly, that initial tax doesn't stop at the spell you exiled, as any spell they cast from exile or graveyard costs an additional 2 mana. Sorry, adventure creatures. So, whether you want to delay an impactful combo piece, or shut down a counterspell for good thanks to Plot's sorcery speed timing, this outlaw will always have your back. Number 3, Jace Reawakened. I'm not sure what memo was passed around the office, but it sure feels like way too many cards in this set just exist to cheat in Tibalt Cosmic Imposter. And Jace here is no exception. However, I think the format is past the point where cheating in everyone's favorite Devilish Planeswalker is the most game-breaking thing to be doing. And I hear you. Late line of anticipation lets us play Jace on our opponent's turn 2, meaning we get a turn 4 Tibalt, and have plenty of mana left over for interaction. But I just don't think that's doing enough anymore. What Jace does do, however, is let us set up removal on layaway in exchange for casting at sorcery speed, or let us cheat costs on cantrips during future turns, giving decks like Dimir Control free reign to interact with their opponent and not miss a beat with card advantage. Plus, if you ever get to ultimate this 2-mana Planeswalker, I don't see how that's not ending the game. And okay, maybe we still throw in a few Valky just in case. Number 2, Slick Shot Showoff. Be prepared to never tap out again or this bird is going to get you. As quick on the draw as any famous cowboy, Slick Shot Showoff is going to put away games in a hurry, But he's so confident he wants you to know it's coming, and that's the most powerful thing about this card. With what is possibly the best use of the plot mechanic, players will now be able to safely protect their game-winning threat from the dangers of Thoughtseize, and only need to wait for the perfect opportunity to cast their Feathered Spell Slinger for free, and quickly follow up with a bevy of burn spells or cantrips, and then swing away for lethal. Meanwhile, the opponent needs to now be careful, craft their turns to not lose on the spot to this flying Kiln Fiend. So whether it's reviving the Is It Prowess archetype we haven't seen since the banning of Expressive Iteration, or coming out of sideboard's Visit Phoenix, this card won't stop until the opponent is 6 feet under. Finally, number 1, Grand Abolisher. If you thought Amalia was annoying before, just wait until Grand Abolisher hits the board and you just have to sit there and watch your opponent gains ungodly amounts of life before blowing up the board. Sure, you can fatal push that Amalia now that the Abolisher is gone, but what are you going to do once they return to the ranks and do it all over again, and again, and again? Grand Abolisher is about to raise Amalia back up from the aggro deck gatekeeping girl boss she is currently to the menace she once was when the deck first debuted. Any collected company or Court of Calling cast during upkeep / main phase 1 is now a must counter threat, or the game is simply over thanks to the protection Abolisher brings to the table. And he also makes a handy return the ranks target. So get ready, because we might have just traded one top dog vampire for another. I want to thank you all for checking out our Thunder Junction top 10. This list could just as easily been a top 20 with how many exciting and powerful cards there are in this set, not even mentioning the Prosperity reprints. It's almost like they included a whole other set of cards in here at the last minute. Also, I want to remind everyone to use that Crew 3 affiliate link to head on over to our friends at TCG Player and pick up any of the cards you saw mentioned today. As well as be sure to follow, like, favorite, subscribe, and do all that fun stuff as we resume video production now that I'm getting settled in my new apartment. Talk to you all next time. Bye!